Hello. Topic for today is how to attract a dominant provider and avoid simp providers. I'm using the word simp because that's a term that's often brought up today. And I'm making this video specifically because I actually got called a simp today. It's one of my favorite insults that men will give me. And it's funny, I think misogynist is one of my favorite insults that women will give me, and then men will give me the simp insult. And it's like, how does that even work? How does that work? It's because when I get these insults, it's because men and women don't actually understand what I am teaching fundamentally. So I'm going to give a bit of a backstory before I really go into explaining how to what the topic of this video is, which is how to attract a dominant man provider versus a simp provider. Because these are two very different things. When we talk about providers, right, we're talking about men who are in the more traditional sense, right? When people think about it, we're thinking more financial, so we'll talk about that. A dominant man provider is providing much more than money into a relationship, into a dynamic. But in the traditional sense, what we're talking about is a man who is financially providing. Now, a simp provider, what I mean by that is a man who is actually energetically submitting when he is providing money to a woman, or when he's whatever he's providing, right? Gifts and acts of service, taking her out on dates, paying for meals. He's energetically submitting. He's not actually dominant. He is doing these things consciously or often unconsciously to win a woman's favor, to win a woman's approval in some way. So it's not truly energetically giving, is it? Because truly energetically giving, a man's giving the gift because he loves giving the gift. And that's it, right? When I do things for my wife, when I pay bills, when I take her out on dates, I don't give a shit about her approval. I do not care at all. I care about making her happy. I love putting a smile on her face. I love taking care of her. I love being in that role, but I do not care at all about her approval. If she disapproves of something that I do, too bad for her. If she's sad or whatever about something, well, I care about her feelings, but I do not care about her approval or disapproval. All right. And this is the fundamental difference between a man who is truly masculine versus a man who is actually just simping, right? A man who is, and there's many terms for this, a beta man, a man who's a simp, whatever, a emasculated man. When a man is doing that, energetically, he is not leading. It can look like he is leading when he is providing for a woman's approval or to avoid her disapproval. But it's not energetic provision, because the provision comes from actually energetically giving a gift. If a man's giving to get in any kind of way, there is no real provision there. Yes, the woman is getting money, but she's not getting what she needs on a deeper level, which is a man's strength, which is a man's energetic penetration, which is a man's devotion for her. And most men out there today in the world most men that are providing today, most men that are providers today are what I would call a simp provider, a emasculated provider, beta provider, because they lack a backbone. They don't actually know how to energetically lead a woman. They don't know how to energetically be in control of the relationship. They feel very uncomfortable, and or they feel unworthy, and then they use the provision, the financial provision, as a way to be good enough, right? Not just for the woman, but also just to feel good enough as a man in society, right? Because that has been the way that he's been told that he's supposed to be, right? And he should be that way, right? I'm not saying he shouldn't be that way. It's just that he's energetically submitting to someone else's standards, society's standards, a woman's standards, rather than him adopting that as his own standard and being like, I'm going to provide for a woman because I love taking care of a woman, because this is the role that I have chosen for myself, right? So back to me being called a simp. It's funny, you know, the men who will call me a simp are typically men that are in the whole red pill / pickup artist field. And I get that, because I used to be a pickup artist. I used to be in that whole, doing that whole thing. And I understand the mindset of those men. The mindset is one of selfishness, right? When I would date women, you know, well, first of all, I was a cheapskate. I definitely was not a provider. And I would have looked on men that were providers. I would have just seen two categories: men who are just kind of leading selfishly, and I would just, at the time, I would have called it authentically, and men who are beta providers and just spending their money on a woman. And there's another category. There's another really important category. I would actually, the men that are kind of just call it like leading selfishly, because the men are leading, like the pickup artist guys, they're leading, unless it's, you know, I'm not talking about doing it authentically, not like the manipulative leading that a lot of pickup artists do. So authentically leading, but selfishly, because their heart is not online. Those are boys. I call them boys. I classify myself back then as a boy, because I was not living as a man. I'm going to get to living as a man in a moment. Then there is the beta providers, right, that look like men on the surface, at least at first, early on, because they're doing what they're supposed to do, which is providing, which is planning the date, all this stuff, except energetically they're submitting to a woman. And a woman's not going to be attracted to that. So women who are like, oh, there's this guy who looks so great on paper, you know, he took me out, he spent a bunch of money on me, but I'm just not attracted to him. I just don't want to have sex with him. Yeah, that's because he's a beta provider. He's a simp. Like, he's actually trying to get your approval energetically. That's what's going on. Now, you might not exactly know consciously what's going on. It's just that your body is like, nope, don't want to have sex with him, right? Because he's not dominant. You're the dominant one in that dynamic. That's the woman. You're the one that has control, even if you don't want it. Even if you're relatively feminine as a woman, you're like, I don't want control. I just want to be led. I want to be taken care of. I want the man to have all the control. You can feel that you have been given the control, and your body's like, this sucks. I don't want that. So that's what's going on there. And then there's the other category, which is the masculine provider, right? The dominant provider. These are men that are providing, and it's actually true energetic provision. They are actually wanting to provide, not for approval, not to avoid disapproval, but because their heart is online and their masculine instinct is online. And it's like, this feels so good to take care of a woman, right? That's the kind of man that a woman wants, where he actually has all the control. He could be selfish, right? He could choose to be selfish. And he knows, because he's so dominant, he knows he's so attractive, his self-worth is so much online. He knows that he could choose not to provide much or anything, and he could still get women. He could still sleep with women. He could still get into relationships with women. But he chooses to provide financially and otherwise through his leadership, his acts of service, everything else, because he loves doing it, because he loves women, because when he claims a woman, he loves providing for his woman. Totally different energy. A woman's going to love that. A woman's body is going to respond completely different to that, because she's getting everything that she needs. A man who's the one who has the control, and that's going to actually help her body feel safe to let go. And he's choosing through his own autonomy, not because he has to, but because he wants to take care of her. Totally different. But what happens is, men who are in boyhood, okay, I know I'm going off on a bunch of tangents here before we actually get to more of the focus of this video, but it's really important to understand everything that's going on here. Men that are in boyhood, so red pill guys, pickup artists, that kind of guys, some of which are very successful with women and some of whom are not, will often look at the dominant provider and be like, he's a simp. He is just simping for women. Because to that man, because he's in the vantage point of boyhood, he cannot look at the dominant provider and understand his mindset. The boy cannot understand the mindset of a man, of a dominant man, because his heart is not online. His devotion for a woman, for women in general, is not online. So he can't see how his where he actually is vastly inferior energetically and in self-development terms to the man who is providing, because all he can see is, oh, he must just be a simp because he wants to take care of a woman, right? And that's the sick part of this whole red pill society. Like what has happened, what is happening currently, what I have been part of. Like, I will literally say I've been indoctrinated. I was indoctrinated into that mindset for well over a decade. And, you know, it was great. I was able to sleep with a whole bunch of women. Fantastic. That was fun in some limited capacity. And that mindset does not work at all in a relationship, in a marriage, just so you know. Like, if that's the energetic frequency you're coming from, when you meet that woman and you haven't shifted that energetic frequency, it's going to be a screwed up relationship, because a woman's not going to be getting what she wants. It's going to be a very one-sided dynamic. It's selfish, right? But that is what men are being indoctrinated into today. Many men, I'm not saying all men, but a lot of the men in that community are getting indoctrinated into it. And then women have to deal with that shit, right? They have to deal with that level of indoctrination. And, you know, women whose feminine instincts are online are going to be like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm not a gold digger. I'm not trying to be selfish. It's just, I want a man that can provide for me. And she should, right? That's exactly what she should want. Her feminine instincts are telling her that. And then she's trying to deal with these boys, again, boys that can be very attractive in many ways, boys that can know how to lead in a lot of ways. And I'm saying this because I was one. I know exactly the mindset. I know exactly how compelling those boys can be sexually, right? How much they can turn a woman on, but they're dealing with a boy. They're dealing with a boy. And, you know, it's the flip side to feminism, right? It's the counter response to feminism, which is actually not a real solution. Not a real solution. It's like, if feminism is cancer, then the red pill is chemo. And for anyone that understands anything about health, chemo is not a solution to cancer. It is a mainstream medicine joke of a solution. It's not the real solution to cancer, right? So that's what's happening in our society energetically with our masculine and feminine polarity. It's staying warped because men are getting stuck in a limited way of being, of thinking, an ideology that is not actually based on our true instincts, and where a man's heart is online, where we're truly stepping into our dominance. It's keeping men stuck in boyhood, and then women are stuck in not getting what they need either. All right, I'm gonna look at these questions, see if I want to answer them before we talk about what to do, how to actually get to the point of this whole video. Is it selfishness, or they're just mad at women because they hope to get respect by being simps and didn't get it? Yeah, I mean, that it can be both, right? For me, it was selfishness. That was when I was doing the pickup artist thing. So I was never simping in that way, I suppose. I just went from being totally hopeless with women to being a pickup artist. But I think, yes, with simps, emasculated men that are emasculated in that way, that's often exactly what's going on. They're hoping to get respect. They're hoping to get sex. They're hoping to get, a woman who's really attracted to them, and they don't get it. They don't get it because they're engaged in a strategy that cannot possibly work. Women's bodies are smarter than that, right? You can't trick a woman into getting her approval, because her body's going to know that this man is not dominant. He's not masculine. It's weakness, and she's going to feel it, and she's not going to want to have sex. or she might want to have sex like once a month. Like your simpiness, your emasculation is like not fully complete, so she might have some little bit of attraction for you, or it starts out stronger at first and then it dies out into the relationship, into eventually becoming nothing as she catches on. There's a few variations. So much dysfunction between men and women in culture right now, leading to broken homes. Yeah, 100%. That's what's going on. What is a dominant man's opinion on opposite sex friendships while in a marriage? It's off topic. I might do that for another video, but I don't want to get into that now. It's so hard for me to be in feminine when I'm needed to be the financial provider. Yeah, 100%. I think colleagues and mates. Oh yeah, so yeah. Okay, so let's talk about what women can do about this, right? Because this is a difficult situation. Both men and women whose instincts are online are in very difficult situations today when we have so much brainwashing, so much indoctrination, so many issues that they have to navigate, because we're just not dealing with healthy people for the most part today. Before I go into that, I'm just going to stop. Let's do a, what's the word? I was going to say intervention. That's not the right word. We're going to stop and talk very briefly about how you can learn how to become more dominant as a man, or how to become more vulnerable, more feminine as a woman. Step into your feminine self-worth, learn how to communicate your needs. Men learning how to lead a woman into being able to do that, so they're not arguing with you. Join our Polarized Communication Masterclass. It's every 2 months. Our next one in July. And what we're going to be doing is teaching you how to shift your communication, which will also shift your energy to get what you want in your love life. Whether you're in a relationship right now, whether you're single, doesn't matter. If you're interacting with the opposite sex, you need to learn how to communicate in a way that's actually going to both attract the other person, keep that sustained attraction alive, and navigate any kind of issues that will come up. Learn how to communicate your needs in a way that the other person is naturally designed based on their gender to respond to, right? As a man, if you are, getting angry or trying to get approval or whatever through your communication, guess what? A woman's not going to respond to that well. She's not going to want to submit to that. If you're a woman and you're communicating through judgment, through blame, through downplaying your needs, through not communicating your needs at all, through complaining, through any of this kind of stuff, man's not going to respond to that. There's something very specific a man will respond to that will inspire him to step up and want to take care of his woman. Okay, so polaritymasterclass.com, that's the link to go to book a spot for our next masterclass, where we're going to show you how to communicate, and then we're going to role play it with you. Okay, polaritymasterclass.com. And that segues into more of the focus of this live stream, which is how to attract a dominant provider to take care of you and avoid simp providers. Okay, women who are going to be attracting simp providers are running on more masculine energy, communicating with more masculine energy, not fully open in their feminine self-worth, may not fully believe, and on a deep, deep level, what they do deserve. And so they're going to be attracting less than they could attract if they compared to if they actually shifted what's going on. So if you want to attract dominant providers, men who know how to lead and provide you with love, leadership, money, nice dates, nice experiences, boundaries, dominance, dominant energy, and everything else that a woman wants. Containment, right? Energetic containment, where you feel fully safe in the container, providing you with this integrity, all of that stuff. If you want that, instead of attracting beta providers, or even worse, non-providers, just selfish men that don't want to provide at all, you need to learn how to be the kind of woman that those dominant men want, that those dominant men are attracted to. Those dominant men are going to have a lot of choices because, there's a lot of women out there. And even though this society and women have been poisoned by feminism and trauma and all kinds of stuff, there's still a lot of very feminine, radiant, vulnerable, respectful women out there who not only know how to follow a man's leadership and respect him in that way, but they also know how to fully express themselves, how they have a feminine voice. They speak up for their needs, they speak up for their feelings, and they don't hold back because they know that they're worthy of it. And that's what a dominant man requires. He doesn't just need respect. He doesn't just need submission. He doesn't just need a woman's receptivity and gratitude. He needs that woman who's able to give him that. He needs that woman to be fully in her own feminine self-worth. He needs a woman who doesn't ever hold back what she's feeling, what she needs, right? Because what is the point of getting respect from somebody that he doesn't really respect, that he doesn't really value, right? Think of it this way. There's a big difference between getting attention from, I don't know, someone that you really respect. Like I don't really respect anyone in places of power, but like a president or something like that, versus some, I don't know, just some nobody, right? It means so much more when it's a person that you actually value. You actually value their respect, or you actually value their respect and attention and whatever else. I'm not telling women to start embodying the frequency of a president because that's extremely masculine. But what I am telling you is that you need to learn as a woman to fully respect yourself in every way, honor your heart in every way. And that means not ever holding back, not complying with a man just because he's a man, when his leadership is undevoted, not exposing yourself to a relationship dynamic where it's like, I don't know, he's getting, you guys are having sex and he's not providing because you're communicating a lack of self-worth there, where it's very one-sided in that respect. You need to know how to communicate. You need to move through all the fears of learning how to communicate what you need, what you feel. You need to know when to flow away. You need to learn when not to expose, or what not to expose yourself to, right? This is all about feminine self-worth. You're not going to attract that dominant provider if you don't have it, if you're not embodying it, if you're not acting upon it. You're just not going to. Ask yourself this question. Like, if you go on a date with a man or a few dates, almost definitely there's going to be situations during the first date or few dates where you're feeling something uncomfortable. Some level of sadness or irritation or fear, even if it's mild. Are you communicating that? Do you know how to communicate that in a respectful way, number one? And then second, do you know how to move through the fear of doing that and actually have a conversation and actually inspiring him to solve the problem, shift his own behavior, become the kind of man that you need? Because if you don't know how to do that, and if you're not doing that, moving through any fear and getting to the point where you don't have any fear of doing that, where it's just natural, then you're not really going to be attracting those really dominant providers. You're just not. Because why would they want you? Why would they want you when they have better options available, when they have women who are much more in their self-worth and who know how to communicate themselves respectfully? That is the key. That is the key to all of this. And you need to take that seriously. This is not something, my belief is this is not something that you should try to just figure out by reading books and watching free videos. That's a good start. But once you're actually serious about this, once you realize, wow, I got a lot of work I need to do on myself, then you need to get serious and actually take that to the next level and understand these shifts on a much deeper level. That starts with, what do you think? Joining the Polarized Communication Masterclass. Start there, where we will role play for you what this looks like. It's one thing for you to hear about it on videos, on like this video, where I'm just talking about it in general. It's another thing to understand it by reading my books, for example, or my posts. It is completely different when you're actually seeing it role played. Completely different experience. You're going to understand this on a significantly deeper level. You're actually going to feel the energy. You're going to really see the dynamic. You're going to see this communication in action. And you're going to reflect and be like, oh man, like I'm really not showing up for myself in the way that I need to. Wow, this is why I'm not attracting the kind of men that I want to be attracting. This is why I'm not attracting men that I feel so much desire for, and men who actually desire me just as much. That's why. It's because you're not taking that next step to really learn this material, learn how to make these shifts as a woman. This is not stuff that you're going to learn in a day. This is really complicated stuff. This is going against all of your childhood woundings, all of your trauma patterns that you picked up since birth or near birth. You got to be dedicated to it. So polaritymasterclass.com. That's a link. If you're watching this on Facebook, then it should be in the description above the video. Click on that link. Book a spot. And then I'll see you in the masterclass, and you can start really shifting this and just have your mind blown open about about what this actually looks like. Don't procrastinate. Don't let July go by. Don't let another month go by to not learn this stuff. You owe it to yourself. Like, you can actually, just from them, obviously, we do much deeper support work than this, and obviously we'll talk about that on the masterclass too. But just the masterclass itself will show you what we are doing, what this is all about, why we get such incredible results with our clients. Because we're helping you break all of those patterns that you keep operating in, that you keep doing over and over again and expecting different results. You're going to get the same results forever until you learn how to shift the patterns and you know where you're shifting to. What are the healthy communication patterns that you need to be shifting into, so that you can change your energy, so that you can open up into your self-worth, so you can learn to fully let go of control, so that you can inspire a man, to attract a man, a dominant man, and inspire him long-term, sustainably, to want to take care of you, to want to provide for you. Join the masterclass, polaritymasterclass.com. I almost got it wrong. polaritymasterclass.com, and I'll see you there. Then we'll start changing your love life once and for all. Let's do it. That's it for this one.